my presentation today is about presidential leadership. To start, in January 2017, it marked the start of the 45th president of the United States. The president is the third president in the 21st century, a feat marked by two contrasting presidents before who saw the world change in ways that we also helped change the leadership and the presidency than any other previous office holder. George W. Bush and Barack Hussein Obama were each elected to the office of their presidential terms, and their leadership is a reflection on history, culture, and our place in the world, with each one handling affairs of the United States at a time when we maintained our hold as a superpower, and both presidents experienced conflicts that were beyond their control. What is the president? The president holds the executive branch of the government. The president is the head of the state and represents the United States of America. It's considered one of the world's most powerful political figures. Is the commander-in-chief of our military. The office of the president also holds significant soft and hard power, both domestically and abroad. The president of the United States has the power of appointing federal executive, diplomatic, and regulatory and judicial officers, such as the Supreme Court and our diplomatic leaders abroad. The constitutional background: the president and vice president are both constitutional offices outlined in the Constitution of the United States. That means these offices have to be filled. In Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, it outlines the eligibility requirements of the president. The term of office starts on the 20th of January every 4 years, and then since 1951, an amendment prohibits a person as being elected for more than 2 terms. So the most anyone can be president is for 8 years. For eligibility, you have to be a U.S. born citizen. You must be at least 35 years of age, and before taking office, the president must execute the oath, which happens on the day of the inauguration on January 20th. The president must give a report to Congress at least once a year, which is also known as the State of the Union Address. President George W. Bush was elected the 43rd president of the United States. After a contested election that sparked further discussion and disagreement with the Electoral College and the voting process in America. He won the Electoral College but did not win the popular vote. 8 months after taking office, the world was shocked when 4 American airliners were hijacked and 2 were flown into the World Trade Center. In New York City, 1 flown into the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and 1 crashed into a field in Pennsylvania. A little over a week after the attack, the president assured the U.S., the American people, that he was committed to fighting the war on terrorism and calling for justice to the terrorist attacks. He was quoted as saying, "Our war on terror begins with Al-Qaeda, but it does not end there. It will not end until every terrorist group of the global reach has been found, stopped, and defeated." Before the conclusion of his first term, the United States would be involved in the request for justice in the events that happened on 9/11. Bush's first term was being driven by forces outside of his control, and his ability to drive the public and policymakers to be behind him in these endeavors, it is a testament to his skills as president. After the attacks on 9/11, popularity grew for the president. Prior to this happening, you really didn't see him very much in the media or on the news. In one of his famous speeches, is quoted as, "My fellow citizens, at this hour, American coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people and to defend the world from grave danger. Our nation enters this conflict reluctantly, yet our purpose is sure. The people of the United States and our friends and allies will not live at the mercy of an outlaw regime that threatens the peace with weapons and mass murder." And finally, President Bush's second term of office began with the forces of Hurricane Katrina, a natural disaster that was beyond his control. He reassured the people of Louisiana that their government would be behind them and support them in anything that they needed. Through these difficult tragedies for our country, President Bush remained steadfast in finding solutions, and whether or not the people believed in him. George Bush made difficult decisions based on the information given to him by his advisors during these trying times. President Barack Obama became the 44th president in January of 2009. He succeeded President Bush. The country was in the midst of a housing crisis and economic recession. President Obama's presidency was a change in the American political system and he was also the first African-American president to be nominated and elected. During the inauguration speech, President Obama called for Americans to be brave once more during icy currents. Obama's leadership came from the aspect of seeing the U.S. in relation to the world and how there isn't much difference other than the work of the people to better their country. Prior to becoming President Obama, a little bit of the background is he worked on community projects to help develop the Workforce Development Center. Because of his work, Obama was able to connect to the American people and utilize social media in a way that hadn't been utilized prior to his presidency. One of the communities of people that Obama reached out to through social media was the LGBT community to comfort them in the aftermath of several suicides. In his message, he connected through YouTube, which is a social media site. He tells the LGBT community that it does get better and reassured them that part of the community was that their struggle would help them with their struggle. It would be better for them to get involved and make this country a better place. President Obama's leadership was connected to the social norms of today, far greater than any other president before him. Because of contemporary media, he was able to reach more people. President Obama believed in investing in the future generations of Americans. He also included his cabinet members. Most of his cabinet members were people that he had worked with previously. In conclusion, both President Bush and President Obama had different crises to contend with, and each president had a different way of talking to the American people. Both the presidents set the tone of what the presidency should be for the 21st century.